Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. Sometimes you gotta cover something just because it's funny, and a Conservative MP, Michael Barrett, released a tape yesterday showing some NDP MPs trying to intimidate the Conservatives because really the NDP feels very insecure with its position in Parliament right now. Every day they carry water for Justin Trudeau and the Liberals. At the same time, they are also criticizing the Liberals, and so the NDP has to feel like they're still in charge here. They still have power. So they moseyed on up to the Conservatives to stick their finger in their chests over like what? That the Conservatives didn't agree with the NDP on something. The NDP don't do anything without the permission of the Liberals. So it's hilarious watching them trying to like intimidate and harass others. But here's what Michael Barrett posted yesterday. He says, Jagmeet Singh repeatedly forcing his caucus to defend the indefensible through propping up Trudeau and is getting to NDP MPs. Last night, NDP MPs came over to the Conservatives bench to harass, insult, and intimidate Conservatives. Conservative MPs remained calm, and the video proves it. And this is just embarrassing, entirely embarrassing. They think they're having a moment here, like they're really getting one over on the Conservatives, and it just comes off very peevish and whiny.
We can film now.
Yeah, but you guys don't need to be standing over yelling at him. He came over and sat down.
Guys,
Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Why? Look in the mirror. And he's taking.
And then they get mad that there's a video being taken, even though the Parliament, the House of Commons is currently out of session. You are allowed to film media, take photos if the House of Commons is not in session. They just don't want people while like there's business going on, like doing selfies and taking videos. So you've heard people or seen people get in trouble in the past for doing that. There's nothing wrong with them doing this, but some NDP MPs realizing in the moment, as soon as there is a camera out, that this doesn't look so hot, starts getting very upset.
Yeah,
This in the house.
Mace is gone.
He is taping
Yeah.
this in the house.
I can.
No, really?
That's fine.
It's just she realizes she can't win on this one and goes, "Really?" And then like walks away.
You can record. It's all fine.
He's sitting down.
Here for another month, you're gone.
This is my seat. This is his own seat. And they're telling Right.
He is sitting down. They're not worth it. They're not worth it.
Here for another month, you're gone.
They're not worth it. That's why I led a gaggle of all of you over to the Conservatives to try and mess with them. But they're not worth it, guys. It's just not worth it. We can't talk to racist fascists like this. And the NDP have been doing a lot of this. So I also want to talk about Leah Gazan, who's one of the more radical members of the NDP caucus. I believe that she is part of the NDP Socialist Caucus, which is a real thing. It's like Leah Gazan. I'm not sure who else is in it. Nikki Ashton's definitely in it. And past that, I don't know. It's kind of a loser group of like really radical far left NDP MPs. And Leah Gazan is probably the most out of touch person I've ever seen in Parliament. And so now Jagmeet Singh is actually using her lines these days. So he actually says the bootlicker for billionaires in a video I covered recently. And it's all originating from Leah Gazan because this lady is full of rhetoric and absolutely nothing else. So this official NDP post says, here is a bootlicker for billionaires. He wants to pad the pockets of greedy CEOs instead of helping you. I always like when they try and accuse other people of being greedy. There is no politician greedier than a very corrupt liberal or an NDP socialist because they believe everyone's money is theirs. But here is Leah Gazan putting on a good show for the NDP and proving why nobody will vote for these people.
Pierre Poilievre talks about a tax trick. I'll tell you what his tax trick is. His tax trick is being a bootlicker for billionaires, refusing to go after big corporation and people gouging people for profit, families like Galen Weston. It's time to call him out for what he is, and he's a bootlicker for billionaires.
Wow, Leah Gazan, you're such a good politician. That was so good. Wow, you said bootlicker for billionaires? Got him. You got Pierre Poilievre. Now his polling is like going like that after Leah Gazan said that. Man, like also she just never seems like very prepared to say anything. Like she's taken the Elizabeth May speaking. She's taken advice from Elizabeth May when it comes to speaking, because it always seems like she's on a little bit of NyQuil when she's talking. Like always very lazy here to talk to you with a lot of vocal fry. I can't believe the government is doing this. But here is her on her, she has her her up there. Here's a post that she made recently. She says, the moral panic over border enforcement is nothing more than an extremist ploy to scapegoat black and brown people as the cause of hardships actually caused by bad housing and social policy. Blaming immigrants will not make a condition better for people in Canada. And I don't want to read her entire thread, but her graphic right here says, let's call it what it is. The moral panic over border enforcement is racist. It blames the most vulnerable people in our communities for government failures. Elected officials must be brave enough to reject extremism and stop putting people's safety at risk. I like how the lady who's in favor of open borders is calling other people extreme. And no, it's not racist to realize that we do not have enough housing for the amount of people coming into the country. We do not have enough jobs for the people coming into the country, and watering down the labor pool with unskilled workers is just going to mean that all workers are paid less or basically never get out of the minimum wage territory. Many of these people also get wage subsidies, so they have an unfair advantage, especially over young Canadian citizens who want to get their first job. But that's neither here nor there. This is just ridiculous, though, that she considers it basically racist and extreme to do math, to realize that 1.3 million people cannot fit in 220,000 new housing builds in a year, especially considering there's also people trying to leave their parents' basements and be able to buy their own place to stay, and they can't because the housing supply is nil. There's way too much competition for a starter home, so now people can't put down the hundreds of thousands of dollars they need in order to purchase a house. Like, especially in Vancouver, the average house price, I believe, is basically $1 million at this point. And obviously that's the average, but still, usually his starter home back in the day was like 300,000, like 275,000, 340,000, and now it's like 600,000, even in a more reasonable market. Here's something else that she said to just make it clear that Leah Gazan is a little bit insane. So she says, a UN committee has called out Canada's slow progress to end the ongoing genocide against Indigenous women, girls, and gender-diverse people. When will the Liberals stop violating Indigenous rights and upholding international law? If you guys know the U.S. Senator from Hawaii, Mazie Hirono, Leah Gazan reminds me so much of Mazie Hirono. She takes every single progressive talking point, hook, line, and sinker. She believes it absolutely no skepticism whether this is a little overheated or hyperbolic. She throws down the racism card so easily, the transphobia card, the extremism. Well, the UN said blah blah. She has no ability to filter nonsense out of her mind.
For Winnipeg Centre.
Madam Speaker, the UN Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women has called out Canada's slow progress to end the ongoing genocide.
What genocide? Legitimately, what genocide? You're crazy if you think there is an ongoing genocide in Canada. You don't know how to think. If you think that there is a current genocide in Canada, we're just not doing anything about it. There's no genocide in Canada right now. Sorry. I know that for some reason people get very excited over the idea that there might be a genocide, but there isn't. And no, cobbling together bad things that happen in history and then saying, well, people get murdered today. That's not a genocide. Can we stop watering down the term genocide? It's ridiculous.
Against Indigenous women, girls, and diverse gendered people. The Liberals are failing to implement the calls for justice from the National Inquiry into murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. Failing to end forced sterilization.
That's not happening. I'm going to tell you that's not happening. Do you think that wouldn't be the biggest blockbuster story in Canada, that the government was forcibly sterilizing people still? It's not happening. She is a left-wing conspiracy theorist.
Failing to address the overrepresentation of Indigenous women in penitentiaries.
Sorry. Why do people like Leah Gazan think that Indigenous women and just Indigenous people in general are disproportionately being murdered and they're going missing, being kidnapped, and all this stuff. People tend to be killed or attacked or have a crime committed against them by somebody in their own community. It's because Leah Gazan is soft on crime. People like this are soft on crime and don't want people in the Indigenous community committing crimes to get harsh punishments, which is actually a racist thing to think. I don't care if she's actually Indigenous herself. It's racist against Indigenous people to almost argue like, oh, well, we can't lock up Indigenous people because that would be an attack on the community. Really? You're arguing that it's an attack on the community. It's bad. It's racist against the community to lock up somebody who is victimizing other people. It's like you're arguing that criminality is part of Indigenous culture, so to lock up a criminal would be bad. Obviously, it isn't. She's just crazy. She is a crazy anti-Western socialist. And so at the same time, she wants us to stop the ongoing genocide, although it's just crime. And it's awful, obviously, the ongoing crime against Indigenous people, Indigenous women. She doesn't want in stricter law enforcement. She would consider that racist because she's just said that, oh, well, we have to fight back against the over-representation of Indigenous women in penitentiaries. Did they commit a crime or did they not? Even then, they probably are not getting long enough sentences. And this is what every community has to do. The reason why some community, like people obviously like family structure helps, education helps, but enforcement also helps. There is a lot of areas of Canada where there's just no enforcement of the law. When we start letting the law enforcement slip, that's when crime spikes. And that's why crime all over Canada, in every community, is going up because we don't enforce the law anymore.
When will the Liberals stop violating the human rights of Indigenous women, girls, and diverse gendered folks and uphold international law?
Oh, international law doesn't mean anything. International law has no bearing on Canada. It's like suggestions by weirdo international socialists. So what do we care? But Leah Gazan doesn't like Canada. She identifies far more with the UN than she identifies with Canada because she considers like Canada to be on stolen land and all this stuff. And she'd be very much part of the land back Turtle Island type movement of people. It's embarrassing. I don't know why this person's still an MP. And sadly, this is somebody who's probably never going to get beaten in an election because in Winnipeg Centre, I think she gets like 65% of the vote. So even if the NDP's vote collapsed, she might be like the last seat the NDP would lose next to Nikki Ashton's, another MP from Manitoba, absolutely robbing her constituents of good representation, just nattering on about nothing. And the community, because it's a traditional NDP community, keeps sending her back, assuming she's probably doing a good job when she can't even string a sentence together that doesn't embarrass her and her, like, it isn't a career embarrassment. Anyways, so that's it for me today, guys. If you want to support the show, subscribe, like the video, and you can always donate at the Give, Send, Go legal fund. I have linked in the description below, as well as pinned at the top of the comment section. I'll see you guys all next time.